I love the Lothcat so much.
They're so
Yeah.
cute.
They're so cute and adorable, and
Meow.
I
that one
know.
inside the tower was always just like, oh, I'm gonna guard this place. Like, oh, I want one.
He was a G man. He helped out whatchamacallit, Sabine, and he helped out Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool, man. That was super cool to see. How are you doing, Jazz?
Better.
Better, as Jazz had a rough couple of days. We were supposed to do an episode last night, but uh there was some
Work got in the
issues.
way. Work
Work
got in the
got
way.
in the way. Let's just say that. Let's just say work got in the way. Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, we got to introduce our guest, someone we haven't had on the show for a little while, not since The Last of Us, I believe. But Ruzzy, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Neves. Thanks, Jazz. Happy to be here and talk Ahsoka, aka Rebels Season 5.
Yo,
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts exactly. This is Rebel season 5. I don't see this as the Ahsoka show. I see this as Rebel season 5, basically, because it picks up literally where the cartoon ends, like literally
Well,
scene per scene.
a bit later, but yeah, very close.
No, actually not. If you watch the last episode where she's looking at the mural and then she turns around and see Ahsoka standing, that's the last scene in the Rebels
The
season
Rebels.
finale. Because they jump
Okay.
ahead a little bit. So the whole thing
Yeah.
ends, then they do like a little jump ahead, and then that scene right there is right out of the cartoon. It was
I guess that's what I
crazy.
meant. Yeah, the Thailand's a bit out of
It's
order.
pretty
It's out
dope.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was pretty
man.
dope.
I can't wait to talk about this. I don't know why I'm in the dark because I can't see my notes. I'm gonna turn on the lights real quick. I thought it looked
So,
cool
this
because like
is
my
a
background
ROM
looks like a little
nerds at
my
night.
my background looked like a lightsaber, so like and it looked like the Ahsoka
Nice.
lightsaber here, so I kind of wanted to show it off, but then I realized that it's too dark in here and I can't see my notes, so I don't know what I'm reading. So I'm gonna turn the lights on right now.
You're hoarding all the kyber crystals.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's totally hoarding all of them. I want one, Neebs. I want a
listen,
Yeah,
lightsaber.
me too.
I did just came from KPK, which is
Yeah.
Khyber Pass in
Kyber.
Pakistan.
Kyber.
Khyber
Voila.
Pass. Khyber Pass. The Khyber crystals are officially canon to Pakistan. That's my motto, and I'm sticking with it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know of any other place where it uses that word except for Pakistan, Khyber. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, we got some people in the comments. Welcome, Brown Boy Wonder. He says, I have never watched Clone Wars or Rebel, and I thought this was as great as Andor. Wow, that's a high compliment. Well, good thing is, if you have not seen Rebels or Clone Wars, we will fill you in because I have watched all of Clone Wars. I have watched all of Rebels. I may even rewatch Rebels because of how good this show is starting off because it's pretty good. But I got to give a shout out to the music, man. There's
Mm-hmm.
something about Star Wars music that just stirs something inside of my emotions, which is really hard to do because I'm dead inside. So
Wow.
I
Damn.
am. But it's so good, man. It just wonderful the way they mix like the old school John Williams with like the Rebels music. It's just really, really good. I'm a big fan. So why don't we go around the room and talk about our initial thoughts, and then we'll dive in and do the breakdowns. And then after we do the breakdowns, we'll go into Easter eggs, and we'll do that for episode 1. And then we'll do that for episode 2, and we'll try to take commercial breaks in between. Sounds good to you guys?
Let's do it.
Works for me.
All right. Oh, we got Raph also in the comments. Raph is like, I never watched Rebels, and I think Ahsoka. I like Ahsoka more than Andor. You know what? There's potential. There's
Damn.
potential.
Okay.
That's a
We
hot
don't know
take.
yet. I don't think it's that much of a hot take, to be honest with you, because Ahsoka feels like Rebels, and like I can see why people really, really like it. Whereas Andor was like his own thing. It was just like a fresh
Right. So good.
story. But like this like stirs something inside of me because I'm like, you see Ahsoka and oh my god, I can't wait to get into because I can't tell you what it felt like to see General Syndulla, Hera Syndulla. Like when I
Yeah.
saw her, like oh my
Hera.
god, I was like, this is perfection. This is perfection. I was just so happy. So I just really, really like the first 2 episodes. I like the way they're setting their stuff up. It 100% feels like Rebels. It feels like Rebels. Like I know it's called the Ahsoka show. It's Sabine in it just as much as Ahsoka is, and we see all these characters. We see so many storylines that are reminiscent of Rebels. We see the Inquisitors. We see like the wolves. It's just really, really.
What?
Oh, you didn't see the
They
wolves?
were in it? I didn't see the wolves.
No, they're in the mural.
Okay.
In the,
Yeah,
in the
Yeah,
mural.
mural.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah. I was like,
yeah,
wait
yeah.
a second.
You
There were no wolves.
you got me for a second. I was like, what?
No. Well, there's a bunch of references to it, right? So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
I was like, Doom is back. What?
no. Oh man, it's so good.
Doom, yeah.
Doom.
It really stirred something in me. I really enjoyed watching it. And what are your thoughts, Rosie? Why don't you go first since you're our guest?
Sure. Yeah, no, thanks so much. So I loved the kind of world, I guess the world building from Rebels and Clone Wars that the show starts out with. I'll be honest, I didn't watch Clone Wars or Rebels until I heard the show is coming out, and everyone kept saying, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. And I finally did, and I was blown away by those two shows. I will say that I really hated on Rebels because of the animation. I'm not gonna lie.
Fair.
I didn't like the animation, and so it just kind of was a big turnoff. And then I finally just dug into that, and I mean, there are a lot of feels. So there are tears and much more in that show. And so I think it's given me more appreciation for Ahsoka. And it's great to see that people who have never watched either show still like this. I From the start, I don't think it's as good as Andor. I think that's like on a level to itself. It's like that Andor is exceptional, but I think it is really, really good, and I think it has a lot of promise and a lot of potential. I want to see more of Ahsoka and just like I want to see Snips, right? I want to see her as like the acrobatic Jedi or former Jedi, and some of her Force powers in these two episodes was pretty dope. And then Sabine is like straight out of Rebels. There's like you can't even like cut that. Like I mean, it's having Dave Filoni do this. It's just incredible. And then Chopper is MVP right there.
Oh my
So
God!
I'll leave it there.
Everyone's favorite war criminal, Chopper. Like we love him.
So great.
Oh man, Chopper is so great.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you.
might
The
be
only
my favorite
thing,
droid.
a lot of people say that. A lot of people
Yeah.
say that. I like the droid from Rogue One, but Chopper's up there. Chopper's
He's
definitely up
good.
there.
BB-8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I don't 100% agree is that like you're saying like it's better than Andor, which I do agree with. But if you just compare the first two episodes of Andor and the first two episodes of Ahsoka, I would say Ahsoka takes it because we didn't know where Andor was going. We
That's
it
true.
was
I
Andor.
agree.
It was a slow burn. It was a slow burn. We
It
didn't
was a
know how
slow
good it
burn.
was going to be. We were kind of just like, okay, all right, this sounds good. But Ahsoka starts off like great, so
Yeah,
it definitely has potential. What?
I agree with you.
Speak for yourself. I knew Andor was gonna be great from the beginning. You heard me say it.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I mean,
it was almost like the flip of episode 1, right? Where you have like
yeah.
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn like coming in like badasses. You have like the opposite in this episode. It's like so dope.
It's really
They're
dope.
not
Jazz,
Jedi. We're not Jedi.
Jazz, what are your thoughts?
So I do love this show a lot. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I mean, I can tell you a lot about the lore and things that could be coming up and theories and whatnot. The one thing I do want to talk about, because like you've already said it, like the show's phenomenal. Ruzzy had like the best recap of it so far. The hot takes that I'm seeing online are wild. Like, hold on, let me just share the screen real quick. All right, check this out. This is NPR, right? Ahsoka has a Jedi with 2 lightsabers and not much else yet, right? When I looked up the initial search for this, what I saw was Ahsoka is meh, and look at this one right here, right? This is the Independent. Disney's latest Star Wars outing is flat, flimsy, and devoid of life. I can show you like 10 different articles like this.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I don't know
I've seen
why.
things like that too. I was really confused by that.
Yeah, look at this right here from The Guardian. Oopsie. Ahsoka review. More about Star Wars in a galaxy too far away to care about. Like, I don't know why people are hating on it. Like, I don't get it. So we may end up
That
having
is
the hottest
strange.
of
But
hot
I
takes.
don't really. Maybe I don't really trust a lot of those. Like those, that's not where I go to find
Yeah.
my Star Wars, like, recommendations. I'm not going to the Independent unless it's the Independent from Ted Lasso.
Fair. But like, this is like a hit job, honestly. Like CNN saying Ahsoka stiffly brings the Star Wars Rebels universe to live action life. CNN said, well, that was CNN, right? NPR already done. USA Today. Rosario Dawson's fan-friendly Star Wars show lacks Andor's ambition. And I'm like, where the hell are you guys getting these opinions from? I feel like every outlet out there right now is trying to tank Ahsoka, and I don't know why.
Mm.
That
I
is
wonder if it
really,
has
really
to do with Bob
strange.
Iger.
Who knows? But like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're gonna have the hottest of hot takes here because we actually
I
like
don't
the
know,
show.
because the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, like, we don't know where the show is going, right? Like, it could be another Boba Fett for all we know. But for right now, like, I
Mm.
really, really enjoy it because of all of the stuff that, led up to it.
I do wonder, I mean, with yeah, I mean, like, I wonder how much the strikes and like the ire at Bob Iger are like being thrown into this as well, right? And then the other question that I have maybe for both of you is, do you think a show should be judged by its entirety, like an entire series, an entire season, or an episode? Like how, what do you think is the way? I mean, do you think a lot of these folks should be just waiting until the whole season drops to make their opinions known? Because obviously, like Jazz said earlier, Andor was a slow burn, right? I mean, you're absolutely right. Um,
I mean,
Curious.
it's hard. Like, in this era of TV,
I think it'd be a little bit of both. What about you, Jazz?
yeah, in this era of TV, right? Every show has to hit immediately, or the TV execs will use it in some way against the show or the studio, and they'll say like, "Oh, if the show doesn't do good, the writers aren't worth that much. We're not making money, therefore, why should we pay the writers? We shouldn't pay the actors, which is why we have the SAG after strike." Um, I really don't know where this is gonna go in terms of like the business behind the studio. It could go either way. And seeing these articles online, like I just showed you, I think they're trying to do a hit job on it just because they want to make sure that these shows do tank, and then they have more leverage in the negotiations later.
Mm.
Yeah. So what
Yeah,
about that,
possibly.
Rosie? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's accurate. I mean, I think, the money and profits do drive a lot of these shows in a way that, I mean, it comes in like direct conflict with fandom, right? And we've seen so many times in which, the profit margins come, like come crashing into fandom in a way that it, you know, perverts or changes, what fans love about, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, you name it, right? And I think that's one of the things where, I mean, even if like going back to like comic books and the Star Wars books, I remember there's one I don't know why I can't remember the name, but there was one Star Wars book that became a video game on the Nintendo 64. I don't know if you remember this, and that was awesome, right? And so I think there's like um, there's always people are always going to try to make a quick buck out of the. I mean, look at behind me, right? So like clearly, like I've fed the beast, but I just hope it doesn't dilute the art that doesn't dilute like the messages that a lot of these writers are trying to bring about through their content, and then also the performances by, I mean, honestly, stellar cast, right? Hera is played by Ewan McGregor's wife, which is pretty dope.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. So it's like that's
That is
really cool.
dope.
But like having like this really
She's such
solid
a good
talent come in.
cast. She's so good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and even Ahsoka too. I mean, like Rosario Dawson, like that was literally fan art by Boss Logic. I mean, it's so crazy. Um, and then here
Yeah,
she is in real life.
it's so good. It's so good.
Neves is on a delay again. This is funny.
Can,
Uh,
am I on a delay? I don't know what this is. I just turned off my Wi-Fi, so it shouldn't be on a delay.
it's weird, man. I don't know how to explain it. I think it's fine now. I think it's getting better.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's go into the beginning and let's recap. But before that, let's go into our first break. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Oh, he actually left. Okay.
Are we
I
on
don't know what's going
camera
on with
or?
Neves. Yeah, no. He actually just left. We'll fix that in post. I don't know what it is, but
Okay.
let's come. There he is. He's back now. See, this takes a second.
I'm
I
gonna
don't know
grab
why it's
my.
happening.
I'm gonna grab. I don't know if the camera's still. I'm gonna grab my Ahsoka.
Yes.
I used the commercial break so that I can restart my
Smart.
computer. All right, perfect.
Smart.
So
Yeah,
this should
okay,
hopefully
we're
Let's
good
be
get some
better.
Mando up
All right,
here,
and we're
then
back.
I got my.
Oh, nice. All right, and we're back, guys. Welcome back to Salaam Nerds, and we'll be going through the show. So let's recap some of the stuff that happened in the first episode. So the first episode, we see the scrolling go by, which we haven't seen in a long time, which brought back the classic Star Wars. But this time, instead of yellow, it was red, which I thought was really interesting. So I thought that was really, really cool. What are your thoughts about the beginning of how it started off, and they all like give you the synopsis of the Star Wars story like they do in the movies?
It was nostalgic for sure. Seeing the text scroll up and the weird little trapezoid way it does as it like gets further away, gets smaller. I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, this is a show meant for the nerds, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, concur wholeheartedly.
Yeah, straight. It's just for the nerds. That's all it is.
It's just fan service.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely love it. And then we see these two Jedis who may or may not be Jedis come in, and they go onto the ship, and they said, "You're no Jedi," which is a callback to Ahsoka when she tells Anakin that she's no Jedi, which I thought was a really, really cool callback.
It's so cool how they do that because,
Yeah.
Oh man, like I got nerd chills when I heard that line. I'm like, They know how to, get the Star Wars fans going here because the foreshadowing there is just phenomenal.
Absolutely. And rest in peace, Ray. Right? Man, I heard about his passing when like the show was starting to come. The promo was starting to come out. I was like, oh man, like he seemed like he would have just. I mean, hopefully, I don't know what his fate is in the show, but regardless, I mean, it seems like he had a uh, very great career and had made a lot of nerds happy in the things that he's done in the past. But yeah, I mean, he came out like a badass. That was just so dope. And you see like the little, Padawan braid from the other force
Yeah.
wielder, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it's the opposite of episode one, not this episode one, but Star Wars episode one,
Yeah.
with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, and I would say this is far more badass. It's so dope.
Yeah, I love this no Jedi thing because they don't really say that they're Sith either, and also their lightsabers aren't
True.
exactly red; they're orange, which has
Yep.
never been done before. We've never had an orange lightsaber.
Yeah, that's right. I think you're right. They've just shown up. I mean, you have that option in like the games, Jedi Survivor, but nothing like that in the lore that I know of.
I think it was also in Legends, maybe. But
Yeah,
I can't
and
remember if it was in Legends or not.
it may have been. It may have been in Legends. Shin and Hati are the names of the two Jedi non-Jedis, and Shin and Hati are also the name of wolves in Norse mythology. So more wolf references, which is pretty interesting.
Cool. That's dope. I like that. That's a good find.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And I love the fact that he does this little, he has his own little hallway scene with the force choke, very Rogue One, Darth Vader like.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Like I
It's
said,
so cool.
it's
I'm a
straight up
sucker
the
for that.
nerds. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
hallway
straight up for the
scenes.
nerds.
I'm done. Yeah, like Daredevil, check. Darth Vader, check. This scene, check. So like that does it for me.
Yeah.
All we
Even
need
We
is
just need
what you
Wolverine,
call
right?
it? Luke. Oh yeah, Wolverine. Luke Skywalker had his own little hallway scene too.
That's right. Yes, in Mando.
right at the very end of
That's
season
pretty
1. Was
badass.
season 1 or
Yeah, that's
season 2?
badass. Again,
Yeah.
sucker for
So
for hallway scenes.
yeah. I know. It's so good. So Balon and Lady Morgan have this scene when he busts her out, and he was like, "Oh, so you're worth it." So it looks like she hired them to be like mercenaries and stuff. And Lady Morgan, we know from one of the last seasons of The Mandalorian, I believe, and she was the one who Ahsoka fought right before the Mandalorian met up with her. So we thought she was some kind of general, but it looks like she might actually be some kind of witch, which is really, really exciting because if you played the games and if you know some of the Star Wars legend, you know the Night Sisters of Dathomir are very big in the storylines. Even in Rebels, I believe they're in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is the same one
Yeah.
from Dathomir. She is a witch.
Yeah. No, that's really, really cool. So we see Ahsoka and she is looking for something. Apparently, it turns out to be a map. And she does this little cool thing with the lightsabers where like she throw them on the ground and they make a little circle, which she has done in the Rebels. So that's also a little bit of a callback. So good.
I want to be a Jedi so bad, just to be able to do shit like
I
this.
know. I know. Me too. I mean, that's like, yeah, that's the shit that
Yeah.
you live
Oh
for.
man. Even in
It's so good.
even in just the video games, it's like you can do it. All right. So what? Okay. So then we get Ahsoka versus the droids. What were your thoughts about the scene with all the droids and her fighting?
Rosie, why don't you go
It
take that
was
one
good.
first?
Yeah, I think what I liked is actually the puzzle. The puzzle was very much like the games. So you had like just almost like this matching light puzzle in this, I guess, fallen Jedi temple. Right? Was it a Jedi temple or was it one by the Night Sisters?
I don't know if it was Night
I,
Sisters. It could have
I
even been a Sith temple. It could have been a Jedi temple. I don't exactly know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell
they said
either.
it was
Okay, but
ancient.
I think yeah, I think
They're all
regardless, it
ancient.
was yeah. I mean, I think regardless, I think it definitely gave me heavy Jedi Survivor puzzle vibes, which I appreciated. And then when she came out and fought the droids, um, they said fight us, right? Us. So it's like, I mean, again, she took care of them, and it's pretty dope. But she found, I guess, a star map, right? So that
Yeah.
The
was
only gripe I had about this scene was how long it took themselves to self detonate. Like, in such
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good 20 seconds. Like, are you kidding me? You've been in this galaxy for thousands of years. You haven't figured out a faster way to kill yourself, like as a robot. Come on
They
now. I
needed to
don't
give
Yeah,
her
believe
not
time
down.
to run.
Count down to 3. Yeah,
it was like a
yeah. And not
good
only
10
that, it's like a
seconds.
crater. Like, also the blast radius is huge.
Yeah.
I would
It
expect
was a
like these
huge. That was
little
a huge blast. You're right. That was a
droids.
very huge blast.
Like, what? Why is she still running? So
But yeah, it's still Star Wars, so I'm still gonna love it, even though I'm gonna call them out on this random little things they do in Star Wars. Was just like a bit too fantastical. But you know what? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they found crazy explosive, you know, minerals in some other planet, and that's why they can do it this way. Who knows?
Who knows? But she does get onto the ship, and who do we see on the ship? But Hugh Young, which is awesome. And if you guys notice that he is from also from is he? I think he's from the last season of what you call it, Clone Wars, or is he
Yeah,
on
it was Clone
Rebels?
Wars.
It was
Clone
Clone
Wars.
Wars, right?
in Clone Wars, yeah.
So there was an episode where he teaches people how to make, teaches kids how to make their lightsabers, which was really cool. And he is played by none other than David Tennant. So they got him to come back as the voice actor. They got Doctor Who to be in Star Wars, and I love it. I love it so much.
No, he was phenomenal in his role there as a voice actor. Hu Yang is so important to the story, and the fact that he can like trace who people are based on their lightsaber designs, amazing.
So cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
That was a really
That
cool,
was cool.
detail. I like that.
Mhm.
And then we finally get to see General Sandala, Hera Sandala, man. When I saw her, I was like, this is perfection. Like the actress they chose, the makeup, the costume, it was really, really great. What are your thoughts, Rezi?
Yeah, I mean, General Syndulla. I mean, she was such a. I don't know how to describe her in Rebels. I mean, I want to say the heart, but she's also like the brains. I mean, she was so many things in that
She's the
show.
mom.
Yeah, she's also the mom,
Right,
totally.
the matriarch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we haven't quite seen that in this show because obviously she's gone through a lot of loss and other things, probably a lot of other things up until that point. And when we see her in the show, but I like the casting. I like the look. I'm really hoping for I don't know, maybe Star Wars mom vibes. I don't know, like what how do we like or general vibes, right? So but regardless, I think yeah, seeing this cast come together in the way that it has, I want to see more of it. Like I want more. So and that's a good sign, right? Wanting to have characters come on screen more and get to see them interact with one another and banter and see both the heart and the humor and much more. I think yeah, Dave Filoni is great at that, so I'm here for it.
I like that you mentioned the heart and the humor because like that is quintessential Star Wars. Like you fall in love with these characters, you fall in love with the relationships, and then you see it live and you're like, ah, this is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, because they're a
Yeah,
family, right? So it's like found family. Because Ezra losing his parents was a big part of Rebels, and then he found this family that he had, and I think that's a big part of the lore. And even in Ezra's little thing, he says, we're a family. So I think that's going to be a big
yeah.
part of it. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. Turns out the map is a map to Thrawn. What are your thoughts of Thrawn being the big bad in this show? Because that alone makes this a win. I mean, come on.
Y'all, if you've been listening to this podcast for like the past year and a half that we've been doing it, you should know how big of a fan I am of Grand Admiral Thrawn. I am so hyped for this. Like, you don't understand. He is the perfect villain. And having him in this show, I hope that they might just do more spin-offs of just Thrawn and his battles at some point because he's such a good character. He's so well designed. He's calculating. He's cold. He's evil. But even in his defeats, he figures out a way to make them victories. Like he will like always say, okay, this is a lesson I learned from this defeat. And then he actually applies it almost instantly into his logic and it doesn't make that mistake again. Like he grows so quick. It's just such a good character, and I love this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thrawn,
same.
Grand
I'm a
Admiral
big
Thrawn.
fan.
Yeah, he's calculating. I mean, that is in cold. Like he's absolutely jazzed. I couldn't agree more. He's going to be scary, but I think the way that they're talking about him, and now hearing how the heroes are talking about Ezra, I mean, is I don't know if now's a good time to talk about how Rebels ended, but I feel like that's at some point that can is going to be open. But I just thought I'd mention that.
Spoiler alert! So we're gonna talk about how Rebels ended. So if you haven't seen Rebels, I highly recommend you stop listening right now and go watch Rebels and come back because we will be spoiling it.
Yeah, I
But
guess
all
we
right,
can't we can't talk about it without spoiling it, right? I guess I never thought about that.
it's a continuation of Rebels essentially. Like we have to mention that at the end of Rebels in the battle for Lothal, Ezra sacrificed himself using the whales, and then he took himself and Thrawn into hyperspace, and we don't know where they've been ever since. So
Yeah.
there you go. I
Yeah.
spoiled it.
Yeah. I mean, what else can we do? I guess we have to spoil it.
Well, I mean, it ended in 2018, so I think people had some time to watch the show. If
Yeah.
it's 5 years after the fact.
You guys have some time. All right, so yeah,
Yeah.
that is what it happens, and so the map to Thrawn is obviously a map to Ezra too, and
Mhm.
at the end of
Maybe.
Rebels, well, maybe yeah, but at the end of Rebels, Ezra says to Sabine, "I'm counting on you." Now
Mhm.
she thought "I'm counting on you" meant keep Lethal safe, but she's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm counting on you." I think it means he's counting on her to find him.
Yeah.
And that's where Rebels ends off. She's like, Ahsoka shows up, she turns around, and then they go and they're ready to go find Thrawn and Ezra. So, it's a big deal. So we'll see how that goes. The Battle of Lothal was great. I love that they brought back the
Yeah.
image, the cartoon that she
Yeah.
references that she painted. I think that's really, really cool.
I love
Um,
that.
I love how
Can
they
we
were
take a
having this.
Yeah, can we
Yeah,
take
what
a
was that?
moment and appreciate how beautiful that star map was when they displayed it?
Yeah, it's
And
Oh
really
like
pretty.
yeah, it's so dope. Yeah,
like
it's
I
so
want
cool.
a hologram like that here. Just be able to like manipulate it and be like, oh, this is a galaxy here. Let's just go to 10 galaxies that way. Like it was just so cool seeing that. And I know it's all CGI, but they did a good job with CGI in this one. I know in like
Yeah.
other Disney, like Marvel, all these studios, right? The CGI has been really crappy lately, but here it was just great. I was so immersed
Quality.
in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
10 out of
I mean,
10.
it felt so real, and I mean, how it would be so stunning to kind of see that in person if something like that existed. I mean, it was just, yeah, it's pretty beautiful.
Hey Disney,
That's
do
true.
it at
Maybe a D23.
yeah D23 or Star Wars Land or something. Like do it. I want to see this.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah, that'd be
imagine if
really
like
cool.
your studio was a star map, right?
That is my
Oh,
dream.
now I got to do it. Now I got to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. That is the dream. Just a holographic projection everywhere and like being able to manipulate things. Oh yeah, I want to see that one day.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, we get to see Azadi, who was also in Rebels, who is the actor who voiced the actual character, which was really cool. Also, shout out to having like a Muslim name like Azadi, which means freedom in Urdu. I thought that's pretty cool. I was like, all right, I see that. I see you. I see you. Casted a white guy, but
Yo,
it's fine. I see you.
I don't know if I ever told you how important that word is to me. I had a friend back in the COVID days. Like I was asking friends to like commission artwork for me, just to like help people out when they lost their jobs or whatnot.
Yeah.
This is one of the ones that was made for me, and this is the current uh, cover photo of my Facebook profile. But yes, that's me riding a Lapras with a flag that says Azadi on it, and
Love
just
it.
seeing that, like, and then tying it back to the show, everything just makes me so happy.
That's pretty cool. Lapras is what? The Pokemon?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's your favorite Pokemon or something?
No,
Okay.
but I am a fan of Pokemon. In fact, I have a Pokemon shirt on right now with all the evolutions.
That's cool. I love that.
That was
All
not
right.
planned, by the way. That was sheer coincidence.
So we see Asadi. We also see Jai Skull, or what's his name? He was also in Rebels. I think him and Ezra trained together when they were sneaking. Ezra snuck into like a school for the Empire or something. So, and he's played by a Daisy guy. So I thought that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So he might have a little bit more in the future. So that'll be really cool. And then we see like this little highway of like Ren just going down this little highway in Lothal, the same highway we first meet, I think, Ezra and Kanan, which is really, really cool. And we also see some of the lot cats, and then she makes it for her house, and then we see some of the stuff in her room, the same graffiti. We even get a glimpse of her Mando helmet, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then she listens to the Ezra recording, and I thought that was really, really cool, letting her know that like she's still not over it all these years. She doesn't want to be celebrated. She's, still angsty little Sabine Wren. So we got to see that. I liked that. It was really, really cool.
Teenage
What were
angst.
your thoughts about that?
Me or Rosie?
Either one.
Rosie, go ahead.
I mean, I think like her room was so her. Just seeing like the little doodles of the loft cats and just like stuff everywhere. For those who don't know, she's an artist, Mandalorian, a dark saber wielder. And then it's questionable if she's going the path of the Jedi. I mean, she was obviously like a Padawan under Ahsoka, I think. I mean, that's kind of what it sounded like. But I'm really curious to hear, like,
Yeah.
see that story
Even
unpacked.
even though she's like the worst Jedi apparently ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she
Oh,
like the
Young.
saber she has is Ezra's, so the green saber is Ezra's.
Yeah.
I love what Huyang
But
said about that. Like, yes, it's Ezra's saber, but you made modifications to it, so now it's your saber. And Huyang was like obviously being a
that's right.
robot and chopping on her, like, "Oh, you're not you were like quite literally the worst Padawan I've ever seen in 500 years." The
Yeah.
important thing there is he still said
so
you
true.
are a Padawan, and I think
Yeah.
that was it was like, okay, it's the robot way of saying no matter what you think, like, you still need to train. You're a Jedi, or you will be a Jedi one day. And, all the hardship you're going through right now is just part of the process. Get over
Yeah.
it. Mm-hmm.
I think it also makes me think back to when Qui-Gon Jinn told Anakin he was too old to be a Jedi. Like, I just don't understand what's going on in Star Wars. How is one person too old, and then what's going on now? Sorry, I had to throw that out there. But yeah,
No, you make a good point, right? Because normally, force sensitive users are taken as like essentially toddlers, and
yeah,
Anakin was taken at like what, the age of 8 or 9.
something like
So
that.
traditionally speaking, they did break tradition there, and now Sabine was introduced to the Jedi Order at like what, 14, 15.
Yeah, maybe older.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they're changing with the times, and I think that's great actually, because if there are users who can develop force sensitivity later, who the hell are you to say you're too old? And then again, that could also lead to the path of the Sith. So they should be looking at people at all ages, even like way older. Like, let's say somebody in their 60s somehow discovers they're force sensitive.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you don't want them going to the dark side. Just bring them in. Like,
totally.
Well, that's what happened with Leia, right? Leia didn't train until she was much older. I feel like after Order 66, it was all off. Like you could do whatever you want after Order
Yeah,
66 because there's so few left. They got obliterated.
but even Leia,
you're
like,
right, Nate.
we knew she was force sensitive at an early age, right? Like, she was displaying those characteristics. What was it, in the Obi-Wan show,
Sure.
where she was like a 6-year-old girl, and then she was clearly manipulating the force there. So I don't know if Leia is the best example for that.
Why not? Because like it doesn't matter when you get when you're force sensitive. It matters when you got trained, right? When you got taken away.
Yes,
I mean,
but I
Lucas.
think that's
I
the
mean,
point we're making is that it shouldn't matter. Like in the past, it's only been if you were like an infant almost or a toddler,
yeah.
not
Right.
older than that.
Right. But I really think after Order 66, they just didn't care because Ezra was also
agree.
older.
Yeah.
Sabine is older, and I think it's just one of the things. But I think the reason they made a point to say that is because they don't want to focus on her force stuff. They're not going to be like, oh, Sabine's is a force user now, so she's just going to be using the force the whole time. I think they want her to lean into her Mandalorianness and just not depend on her force. I think they want to like sideline her being force sensitive and just focus on her being like a Mandalorian and being like just good at what she does. She'll be exactly like she was in the Rebels cartoon, but the reason she is force sensitive is just an excuse to get her to train with Ahsoka. And saying that she is bad with the force is a way of saying, hey guys, don't expect her to start doing all these crazy Jedi moves because that's not her. That's not what her character is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
I think it's like, getting people to have realistic expectations of what she's going to be doing in the show.
Okay. I
Yeah,
buy
I
that.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And at this point, we get to hear about the Night Sisters of Dathomir, and that's really cool. I was really, really excited to see this. One of them is from the Rebels show, is actually the mother of Darth Maul. So
Mm-hmm.
that is also really cool. So, will we see Darth Maul? I don't know. That might be crazy because well, I'll talk about it later, but there is some connection to the Han Solo movie here also. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in
I know
episode
Oh,
we're
2,
not
the
really?
getting at
connection.
that, but we'll get into that soon. Okay.
We'll get into that later. All right. So
Okay.
yeah, so Ahsoka and Ren kind of go at it, and she has to. Well, first Ahsoka talks to Hera Syndulla, and then Hera advises her to go talk to Sabine, and she finally goes and talks to Sabine, and they're kind of there's a little bit of tension there. There's a little bit of tension there where she calls her master, and you get to know that they're not the best of friends. So we get to see that, and she's like, well, you know what, I'll help you, but I need to take this where I can think. And Ahsoka goes, no, you can't, you're gonna stay here. And Sabine takes it and runs anyway.
Typical Sabine.
It's so typical.
That is
I expected
typical.
nothing less. That was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
beautiful. Mhm.
Like
Oh
five,
man.
four, three, two, one.
Yep. So that was really, really cool. This episode is called Master and Apprentice. So, which is a reference to the Sith, because there's always there's always a master and apprentice. But they could also be talking about Ahsoka and Sabine. They could also be talking about Shin and Hati, because they are also master and apprentice. So, what are your thoughts about that?
It's so funny you call him Hadi, but like it's Balin.
Oh, it's Balin, but no, his last name is Balin Hati, right?
Yeah. Like the thing in the show is that they refer to him as Balin, so like
Yeah.
some of our listeners got confused by that. That's what it is.
What are your thoughts about that, though?
I mean, that's just a little bit on the nose. Like, yes, we know the show's call or the episode title was The Apprentice and the Master, and so it was very on the nose. The whole duality of the Jedi and the Sith,
Yeah.
seeing it play out this way too. Like, yeah, it's very Star Wars.
Mm. What were your thoughts when Hera said, I bet your master had a hard time with you also? And then there was just like this little
Oh.
cringe face. And then she goes, I walked away before Anakin can finish my training. But there was a little bit of like, I was like, oh man, I don't believe
Yeah.
she said
She's
that.
Twist
right.
the knife. Let's twist the knife right there.
But she's right though. Like
Yes, she is
even
right.
when Anakin was Ahsoka's master and she was a Padawan, right? Anakin had a very hard time with Ahsoka. She would just keep doing
Yeah.
her own things, and I mean that could be the same way for Obi-Wan and Anakin. They kept doing their own
Yeah.
thing always. Like this is just the natural course of things. Don't look too deep into it, people. Like
Yeah.
this is just Star Wars.
The thing is, like, Ahsoka isn't snips in here. She is very much like a hardened, a little cynical, a little burnt by the Jedi Order, and kind of doing her own thing. She is a grown up in here, right? She is much older, so you don't get to see that like young, optimistic version of her that we remember from Clone Wars, right? So it's very, very interesting. And I did like the fact that they called her Fulcrum, which was her code name
Yeah,
in
that was awesome. I like that.
in which one called
That's a good
Rebels. That was
callback.
really, really cool.
Yeah,
That was
I
really
like it.
cool.
Good old Fulcrum, all of them.
Yeah. So that was really cool. So Sabine figures out this key, and then an entire fight breaks out because there's some H1V1 robots or whatever they're called. H1V1 is for Visa.
H1B1 visa. I don't do visas. I'm just
The
kidding.
HK assassin droids.
HK assassin droids. That's what they are. HK1V1
Yeah, the
visas.
State Department person talking about visas. Shame.
Oh man.
Rose,
So
you're not gonna get
they
in
go-
trouble for that, are you?
No, I'm good. We're good here.
Oh man. So they attack Sabine, and the Lotcat kind of warns her, which was really cool. But they get the key and they smash all her equipment, and then they get away. And then she gets her lightsaber, Ezra's lightsaber, goes down to fight him. She's not that good at fighting, you know. She's doing a lot of like slashing moves. She's doing a lot of like, you know, coming at the apprentice and trying to slash her, while the other one's playing more defensive and being smarter, or Sabine is being a lot more aggressive to show that, you know, her training has not been complete. So she ends up getting stabbed. And then they run away with the key. And the episode kind of just like ends around there. What are your thoughts about that?
I
I
thought it
think.
was a fun
Oh,
cliffhanger. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was a fun cliffhanger, and we kind of knew she was gonna die. Like where she was
Yeah, of
stabbed
course
was
not.
kind of obvious. Uh, it was a good fight scene for a TV show like this. Like I'm glad they did it in the first episode, because otherwise, yeah, I kind of would have agreed with all the other articles out there how it would have been meh or boring. This was a great way to just jump right back into Star Wars. So thank you to whoever did that.
Yeah. And I also really liked the end credits. They were really cool looking, where they show like this map of the galaxies, and it almost looked like Gallifreyan if you're like a Star Wars, not Star Wars, a Doctor Who fan and stuff. But I thought the end credits looked really, really cool. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right, so
Rusty,
let's
what
get
are your
into.
thoughts? Hang on, Rusty, what are
Oh,
your thoughts
sure.
on the ending?
yeah, no, I thought the ending was dope. I was a little confused after seeing the rebels and her train in Sabine's training with the dark saber. I mean, she was able to somewhat hold her own. She eventually gave it to Bo-Katan, but I think when it came to like the lightsaber, it's probably lighter than the dark saber. No pun intended. Um, so maybe like there's a difference in terms of how you're holding it and fighting with it, but I don't know. She's a badass in the show, so I was a little disappointed by like her not having her little Mando tricks or other she's I don't know. I was
Well,
hoping for a little bit more of a fight, but obviously like they're building up for like the training and everything jazz
yeah.
you
I
had
mean,
mentioned.
I feel like the only way we could excuse that is that if it's peace times and she hasn't fought anyone in years.
Hmm,
Maybe she's rusty. I guess we could give her that, because look how long her hair has grown, right? So it's been a while since she's
that's
put
true.
on the Mandalorian helmet and actually been in some kind of battle. Because she never wears the Mandalorian helmet with long hair. I think she says it that she likes it short because it gets hot. So I think that was like a reference that her hair is so long, meaning she hasn't fought in a long time.
Yeah, and
Mm,
the other thing about that, like with the dark saber, if you remember the Mandalorian, he couldn't wield it properly because he
yeah,
just
that's right.
wasn't. It gets heavier and
He
heavier.
wasn't used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the dark saber taps into like the Mandalorian side of you, and the lightsaber, I don't think it can work as effectively if you're not tapped into the force side of everything, right? There's a certain
Yeah.
way to use a lightsaber, and you have to essentially use one of the several forms that they've developed over the millennia of being Jedi. And so, unless you're trained in the art of it, the lightsaber may or may not even hurt you if you don't do it right. So I think Sabine just isn't trained yet properly in the Jedi arts, and that's why the fight scene was a little off. Because if she had a dark saber, I completely agree with you, Rosie. It would have been way better, and she would have been more of a badass. So yeah.
Yeah, true. All right, let's go through some Easter eggs, but right before that, let's go into one more commercial break at 51 minutes. So we'll be right back after these messages. All right, and we're back, guys. So there were some cool stuff that's happened in this show, some cool Easter eggs. We talked about a little bit of the red color that we're seeing in the beginning of the episode. Usually you see a lot of yellow. There was a lot more red. We get to see some new helmets in the Star Wars logo. We got to see Morgan's helmet, which was really cool. Chopper is in this too, so you got to see Chopper also, which I thought was pretty exciting. And then, yes, we talked about this earlier. Ray Stevenson did pass away, and that's why you see at the end it says "for our friend Ray." That's what that end credit was about. And we also talked about the Orange Blaze. Orange Blaze were made especially for this show. That's another Easter eggs. We talked about the "We are no Jedi" is a reference to Ahsoka saying "I am no Jedi." So we have that. The Night Sisters of Dathomir are a little bit of a callback to Macbeth, which you have the three witches from Macbeth, and even in episode 2, we see a reference of that because it's called "Toil and Trouble," which is a line from Macbeth, which is a cool little Easter egg. We talked about
double toil and trouble.
yeah, so that's really really cool. Hugh Young was David Tennant. We talked about that. Fulcrum was Ahsoka's rebel's name, which was really cool. Let's see. And the hyperspace whales, the Purgles, are shown a lot in the maps, which makes you think they might be coming back because we did see them in The Mandalorian. So we saw them in The Mandalorian, and now they're being referenced here a few times when you've seen the map. So that was really, really cool.
I'm very hyped for that. I want to see Purgles in live action.
Yeah, so that's going to be cool. All right. So those are all the Easter eggs for episode 1. So let's dive into episode 2.
You want to just end the episode here and then just do episode 2 separately?
Yeah, we could do that. You want to do that?
Let's do that, yeah.
All right, guys. So this is the end of episode 1. We're going to be right back with episode 2 with a new link.
Cool. Peace.
All right. Thanks, guys. So until next time, guys, or until 5 minutes from now, Salaam nerds.
Peace.